All right, everyone, this is the one of the follow-ups to the Beef Wellington video. I'm going to do a little bit of veggies here. What I'm going to do for my vegetables is three things, two of which are going to be peppers. And the only reason I'm doing the peppers is because, I'm going to throw one up and just do, whatever, is I want some color in my meal. So couple of peppers there, but the main feature vegetable is going to be these things, asparagus. So what I've done with the asparagus before I started recording is I took the asparagus sprigs and I just bent it, and this is where it broke. So this is the end of the asparagus. We're not going to eat that because it's kind of yucky. Now, I don't boil my asparagus. The first time I ever tasted asparagus, it had been boiled, and it had been boiled to the point that it was soft. It was gross. So I thought I hated asparagus. And then I saw some options for asparagus. One of the options I saw was you can saute it on your stove, and then you add some Parmesan cheese and you throw it in the oven. That was really nice. I've actually discovered that simple sauteed asparagus with salt is really yummy. So we're going to do that. But I'm also, for my color, I'm going to throw in some red and yellow pepper. So this is not really that exciting of a video. Basically, what I'm doing right now is I'm filling time because my Beef Wellington is still in my fridge. So I'm going to just get this done. So once it is actually served, then I can eat it all at once, have it all ready. So I'll get rid of that. I'll go into the compost a bit later on. I do compost. I'm not huge on recycling, to the point that if it's something that is recyclable, obviously I am more than willing to recycle it. But I am more likely to happily throw paper into the garbage than I am plastic. I'm not a huge fan of plastic because plastic never breaks down or it does break down, but it takes a very long time for plastic to break down. Paper is an organic product. Plastic isn't. Paper breaks down nicely. So paper in a landfill is actually not a bad thing if you look at it. Now, yes, paper kills trees. That is true. But trees grow back. Plastic sits there for thousands of years. So why would I throw out plastic when plastic would make sense to recycle, where paper, well, trees grow. So there's a little bit of a philosophy thing, because this is a food and politics discussion session. So there you go. So there, I've now sliced my peppers. I'm going to do them, and I'll start on them first because I don't want to put the salt in the peppers. So let's get the stove going here. That's the same frying pan as I seared my beef in. May as well use it. And switch the camera. And as I said in another video, if I had someone work in a switcher, then I wouldn't need to do everything myself, of course. But once again, you don't get what you don't pay for. And since I am not paying for someone to act as my engineer, then I have to do all my switching myself. And therefore, you will see me on my computer from time to time. So while I wait for that to heat up, I'm going to pause the video and I'll continue the recording in just a few moments. All right, now the food is sizzling away nicely, as you can hear there. It only works when you bring the microphone fairly close to it, I suspect. So we're sauteing. All we're doing here is we are just quickly sauteing the peppers. You know what? Might need some onion. I just realized it needs some onion, so I'm going to add some onion to it. This is called making up your vegetable, and I happen to have some onion in my fridge, so I'm just going to use that. And the nice thing about putting onions in the fridge is you can always wash that bag and reuse it. I'll talk about plastic a few minutes ago. If you put onions in the fridge, then when you cut them up, they don't irritate your eyes as quickly. Because what it is there is a gas that gets released from the onion when you cut it up, and that gas irritates your eyes. So you end up crying your eyes out when you are cutting onions. So if you could put them in the fridge, it takes longer to get to your eyes. So there's a little trick if you did not know about that. A lot of people do. I don't keep my onions in the fridge unless I've already cut them up. So sometimes, the other thing that you can do is if you want to look like an idiot, you can wear swimming goggles. That'll also prevent your eyes from watering when you cut onions. Either way, so there, that'll come up nicely. And maybe, do I have any parsley flakes? I thought I did. Oregano. Why not? Yeah, now I just coughed, and that might make you think, Alexa, stop. That's Alexa telling me that the beef has chilled long enough in the fridge. So we can put that aside for now. I'll come back to that in a moment. There's the asparagus. We'll get back to that in a second here. Here is the beef Wellington, which has been just chilling in the fridge. So now it says in the instructions here, or sometimes I call these the destructions, what we're going to do is we are going to glaze it again with the beaten egg yolk. But before that, it wants me to lightly score the pastry at 1 centimeter intervals. No, I do not have COVID. And my dishwasher is clean. I just haven't emptied it yet. So there's a knife. We're going to score the pastry at 1 centimeter intervals. I've been putting off doing this all day. I've been playing Wolfenstein New Order. I know it's a little bit old, but it is a fun game. I've always been a fan of Wolfenstein, the Wolfenstein video game series. I do enjoy them. Any opportunity one gets to shoot at Nazis, I think it's a good thing. Because Nazis are the worst possible things that you can think of. And since it would be very poor taste to have a video game where you're shooting at, say, Democrats or Antifa members, as Nazi-like as they are, that would be very poor taste. So, excuse me, I will take what I can and I will shoot at virtual Nazis in a video game. And these are virtual Nazis wearing Nazi uniforms with the swastika and everything on them, so all's fair in computer games. Though, yes, it would be very poor taste to do a video game where one is shooting at Antifa members, even though the Antifa members, if they're coming after you and they are trying to beat you up or worse, then self-defense is, in my personal opinion, a very legitimate thing to do. So let's leave that alone for now. I think I've gone as far down that rabbit hole as I want to go. And one of my questions, here's a question I want to throw out there while So what I'm doing is I'm now glazing my beef Wellington again. But here's a question for you. Where did you, if you're a conservative like me, where did you get your political awakening? How did, like, I grew up in a conservative family, so I've always been conservative in my opinions. I have recently discovered that I have moved further to the right, which is not entirely correct, actually. I am quite right-wing. I like to, if people ask me, I will tell them that I am slightly to the right of Attila the Hun, although I don't know how right-wing Attila the Hun actually was. The big thing is, the big thing for me is, I hate oppression. I am more of a libertarian than a conservative, in actual fact. I have very libertarian opinions. So yeah, like I morally backed Trump in this last election campaign because Biden would have been far worse. But when it comes to, like, I definitely don't agree with legislating morality. There we go. That's all ready. So, you know, so when it comes to like moral behavior, and for example, sex before marriage or whatever, then I very much oppose any legislation that says, no, you will not, you're not allowed to, you know, do all that kind of stuff. You know, I definitely don't agree with legislation on that part of the equation. But does that make me a leftist? No, it makes me a libertarian. I don't vote libertarian simply because I think the Libertarian Party in Canada anyway has zero chance of ever winning seats in the House of Commons. And in the States, they're just a little weird, some of the things that I've read about them. So that's why I don't support the Libertarian Party. So the next best thing is you got to pick a team. So I'd go Republican. All right, so we've scored this. And we're going to bake it for 20 minutes at 400 degrees. And then after the 20 minutes is up, we are going to reduce the temperature from down to 350. And we're going to bake it for another 15 minutes. So I'll be back and I'll finish that up. But I'm going to finish the asparagus before I stop this video. Let's toss this in the oven. Oh, I just found my my baking sheet. It was in the oven where I left it, apparently. So let's yank that out. Let that cool, because it's now the same temperature as the oven. Give it a wash and put it away later. Okay, that's that. Okay, so let's get this asparagus done here. So let's, first of all, put this into a bowl. I'm just getting it out of the way now. Because I want to show you how I'm going to do the asparagus. So, helps if you turn on the correct ring or the correct burner on the stove. So there we go. We've got the heat on, and this is how difficult the asparagus is to cook. So the asparagus is in there, and now we just wait for a few moments. And what I'm going to do here is I have a spritzer of olive oil, because there's not enough olive oil in there in my opinion, so we're just going to add a little bit more here. Wait for a few moments, let that cook up nicely. And then we'll take it to the next step. So yeah, there's not much really going on right now, and I've kind of run out of things to say. So I'm not going to be talking as much. Okay, so now this is coming up. It's starting to sizzle nicely, as you can see. And it's just starting to brown. Is it al dente yet? Well, it's still quite firm, which is what I want. So there we go. And now this is step 2, salt mill. And there you go. There's the asparagus done. Take that, Gordon Ramsay. That is how difficult it is to do asparagus the way I like it. Very simple, as you saw. And maybe what we'll do is we'll just toss it on top of the plate of veggies there. And I may give this a quick zap on the stove just before I eat it to warm it up again. And we'll go from there. So the beef Wellington has been in the oven for about 2 minutes now. And I'm going to stop the video at this point. And when the beef Wellington is finished cooking, remember that after 20 minutes, the first round, we're going to lower that temperature to 350 degrees, and then we're going to cook it for another 15. I'm obviously not going to come back on and talk to you at that point. Just as I wrap it up, then I will come back on then, because I need to make gravy still. So we'll talk about that in a few. Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 4 of the Beef Wellington and politics discussion. We've kind of run out of politics to do, so we're just basically going to be doing the last of the stage here. As you can see, I've cooked the beef Wellington. It's right there. I'll bring it out and get it a bit closer in just a moment. But I'm a big fan of gravy, so I thought I'd add a little bit of a video here on the subject of gravy while my beef Wellington rests over there. So the recipe I'm following is on favfamilyrecipes.com. That's F-A-V, familyrecipes.com. And then /how-to-make-beef-gravy/. Okay, so now there's a number of different optional things. This one, this recipe here, it says makes 8 servings, so I'm just going to make the full amount. 3 tablespoons of butter, which is optional. 4 cups of beef broth, which is one of these. 3 teaspoons of onion powder. I don't have any onion powder, so I am actually going to cut an onion up, like a little bit of that onion that I did for my veggies. Rather convenient, I thought. I am going to use that instead. It's been sauteed a little bit, so it's nice and soft. So it's going to be a bit sweeter because it's been sauteed. And it also adds a bit of lumpiness to the gravy. Not the end of the world. And if you want a smooth gravy, you can always get one of those handheld blender things. And I've got one of those lying around, but I'm just not going to worry about it. So there's that. It says to use some garlic powder as well. I don't have any garlic powder, but I do have minced garlic in my fridge. That's ginger, so we don't want that. So instead of using garlic powder, I am going to throw in the equivalent of 1 clove of garlic, just because I can. And then 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. You can also do this by making a roux with flour. I'm not a big fan of making roux, so I'm just going to use cornstarch. It's easier, it's quicker, and it's far less of a pain in the ass. So we've got that, and then beef bouillon to taste, and ground black pepper to taste. So we've cut up the onion a little bit there in a medium-sized saucepan. Combine the butter, the beef stock, it's amazing what you can find in a cupboard. So we'll worry about that in a second here. And then it just says combine the the butter, which I'm not going to use, beef broth, onion powder, garlic powder, and bring it to a boil, stirring occasionally. So now that I've cut up my onion, we can move that out of the way. I was thirsty earlier. So we got that. And let's move, before we do anything though, let's move this over here. So here it is, the Beef Wellington. I'm going to sit it on the counter on the pot holders. It's probably cool enough at this point, but I don't want to damage my countertop. So there we go. And then it says, so we're going to combine the beef broth, the onion, the garlic, and we're going to bring it to a boil, stirring occasionally. So let's do that right now. And let's just swap the cameras out here. So we'll turn the stove on, set it to medium heat, and Alexa, stop. That was Alexa telling me that my 15 minutes of resting time is finished. It's not going to hurt it to make it rest a little bit longer. So we've added the beef broth, and there we go. So we'll put that there. We'll let that do its thing for a moment. And then we're just going to add the onion. Onion soup. Onion and beef soup now. Let's add some garlic because I happen to like garlic. So now the minced garlic is half of a teaspoon is roughly 1 clove. So what we'll do is we'll just grab half a teaspoon of minced garlic and do that. So now we need that to bring that to a boil. Let's turn the heat up a little bit. So that'll come to a boil, and then we're going to reduce the heat and we'll bring that to a simmer once it is boiling. And then we're going to combine cornstarch with water. And how much water do we need? 1/3 cup. So let's get that on the go while this is coming up to a boil. All right, so we need 1/3 cup of water. Close enough. And I know it did tell me how much cornstarch to use, but my short-term memory, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. Fairly straightforward. This is not an exact science. We're not baking here. We are simply making, cornstarch is a thickening agent. So there's 1. So it's not critical at all. 2, 3, and 1 more makes 18. And cornstarch can actually be a lot of fun. You can make something called Oobleck with it. Oobleck, it's a non-Newtonian liquid. What that means is, now this will not be Oobleck, but Oobleck is lots and lots of cornstarch and just a little bit of water. And the funny thing is about Oobleck is if you push it slowly, it will absorb your finger or your hand or whatever. But if you smash it with your fist or hit it with the palm of your hand, it goes solid. So with Oobleck, you can actually walk on a liquid. Figure that one out. Or not so much figured that one out, but imagine the implications of that. Okay, so now we've got that, and that'll just sit there while we're waiting for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to slowly add this to that mixture once it's simmering. And then we just add a little bit of beef bouillon to it to add some flavor. And then just let it sit for 2 or 3 minutes simmering. But what we need to do is constantly whisk the cornstarch into it, because what that does is that will thicken the gravy for you. So there's a really, really quick recipe for a beef gravy. So I'm going to stop the video here, and once it is completely served, I will show you what it looks like on my plate. Okay, so here it is. It's starting to boil there. And any moment now, I'm going to reduce that heat, but I just wanted to get the video rolling. So as we make this gravy, we'll add the cornstarch in. I've already added the pepper, and because I'm going to add beef bouillon to this, I won't be adding kosher salt. I'm just going to add the beef bouillon instead. Okay, it is definitely boiling now. So let's reduce this heat down to a simmer. And now we're going to slowly, while whisking constantly, we're going to slowly add in the beef, or not the beef broth, but the cornstarch. And just so you all know, I am not a chef by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, yes, I have worked as a line cook before. That was a very long time ago in another universe almost. And while I learned a lot in the kitchen, I certainly wouldn't classify myself as an experienced chef or anything, or even as a high-end cook, because I didn't work that long in that kitchen. You can see it's thickening already, actually. So that's thickening up nicely. This is going to be a nice, rich flavor, too. I can tell just by the look of this, because it's got all those nice, yummy bits of onion floating around, and you can see the garlic in there. So it'll be a lumpy gravy, but that's all right. I'm the only one who's going to be eating it. So there we go. That's that part done. And now all I want to do is add some bouillon. So does it have a, no, it just says to taste. So what does it say on the instructions here? The instructions say teaspoon. So let's do a teaspoon. Why not? Teaspoon's a good amount. So we'll just sprinkle that on top and whisk that in. And if you want to be really adventurous, you could even add some wine, some red or some white wine to this. I am not going to, simply because it is now 10:15 in the evening. I have not eaten yet, and I'm getting hungry. So there you go. So that just needs 2 to 3 minutes. So that means we can start plating this. So as I said, I am going to throw this back on really quick because I want to warm up my vegetables. Whoops. Well, that's one for the garbage can, or the compost rather. That's disappointing. That was a big piece. That was a big piece too. I really like asparagus when I do it this way. So, just zap those for a few seconds on the stove, and we'll start plating this food. I'm just going to turn this heat down a bit more. There we go. The nice thing about having a gas thing is, that's the knife I was looking for, is it is instant temperature control. So I turn it down, it immediately drops the heat. And that was one of the advantages of that over an inductive surface, because induction still takes some time to look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Right there. That, my friends, is Beef Wellington. And yeah, it took me an hour to prepare, and the main portion of this video I really like Beef Wellington, so I'm going to pig out tonight. And this is going to have the prosciutto and whatnot in it. There it is. It did fall apart a bit, but that's fine. So let's plate that. So if it does fall apart, just use your hands, pick it up, move it. And then you can let the rest of it rest. On the cutting board or whatever it is that you're letting it rest on. Yeah, there's a lot of veggies there, but the thing about vegetables is you can have as many. Oh, I don't have anything else on my plate other than the gravy, so we'll just do that. Here it is, all served up. Gravy should be ready at this point. And so I know a lot of the time people will put the gravy on the side. If you want to do that, you can. But because I'm the only person who's going to be eating this, I am just going to pour it out the side of my saucepan, as long as I don't drop it first. And it's a little thin, but that's fine. There we go. And there we go. One Beef Wellington supper. Thanks for watching, everybody. Next time I decide to make something a little bit more extravagant than, say, wieners and beans, I'll be doing a video talking politics. And until then, I'm Steve Britton.